but you don't do it when he's 2. You have to allow him some growth time. And I think if a young Christian is reading the NIV or some other version, fine. Give him some growth room, okay? I remember I'd been saved for 6 months, and I was coming to church regular, bringing my RSV, Revised Standard Version, that I got from the Methodist Church. And I was underlining passages and thinking, wow, I was reading my Bible an hour a day. And I was growing in the Lord. And my preacher said, Kent, you ought to get a Bible. I was hurt. I got a Bible. What do you mean I ought to get a Bible? He said, no, you ought to get a real Bible. I said, what are you talking about? He said, well, this one's got a lot of problems with it. Look at this. And he showed me some verses. I said, wow, you're right. Was Jesus born of a virgin or was he born of a young woman? Well, there's a difference. Mine had him born of a young woman. You know, the Bible has him born of a virgin. That's a big difference. And so I got rid of that, and I still have it at home. That's on the shelf. But I'd rather have somebody read the Revised Standard Version than Playboy. I mean, it depends what you want to compare it with, right? So don't go off on a tangent, blasting everybody, all the other versions. Give people some growth room. Especially in our type ministry out on creation, I kick the dog as I walk by, but I don't spend hours on it. As soon as you do, you're going to narrow your audience way down. And it's not time to do that yet. I do cover the different versions on video number 7. By the time they've been through my whole seminar, 14 hours before I even get to the KJV issue, now they're ready to listen. That's why I put it near last in the seminar. Anyway, how art thou fallen from heaven, O Lucifer, son of the morning? How art thou cut down to the ground, which didst weaken the nations? Oh, John, running the camera there, we can go off on this for a long time, couldn't we? It's Lucifer that's weakening the nations. I'll tell you what, we just produced a videotape, if you want to call our ministry and get it, on the straw man. How many saw the movie Wizard of Oz? That Wizard of Oz movie was made to teach what Satan is doing in the world. Follow the yellow brick road. Follow the money. Originally, in the book, it was silver slippers. Follow the silver and the gold trail. They changed it to ruby slippers so folks wouldn't catch on, what's really going on in this movie. The straw man. No brain. The tin man. First words out of the tin man's mouth. He's standing there stuck. What's he saying? Oil. Oil. Right? Tin man represents commerce. The financial, the business world has no heart. And it's ruthless. The business world is ruthless. And they run on oil. The whole thing is a fiction. And John's done a great job on stuff on that. He's running the camera there if you want to see him later or get our videotape on straw man. But it is Satan that is weakening the nations. When Dorothy gets to the Emerald City, there's this huge Oz. Nobody gets to see the great Oz. Remember, and they finally get in to see him, and his big, huge face and smoke and flame shooting up, and everybody goes running out, and the lion crashes through the window, and they're scared stiff. At the end of the story, they find who this Oz really is. It's a little bitty man behind a curtain pulling a bunch of levers, isn't it? He's nothing. It's all smoke and mirrors. And Lucifer looks huge to the average person. Wow, you can't fight against the devil. Look how big he is. Look, we're going to be shocked when we realize he's the one that weakens the nations. When we realize, people are going to say, where's that verse, John? People are going to say, is this the man that did... The next verse. Is this... People are going to look narrowly upon him and say, is this the man that did this? When we watch Lucifer get cast into hell, we're going to say, you're kidding. That's it? That's all it was all along? Little bitty man pulling a bunch of levers. And the movie Wizard of Oz, certainly not a Christian movie at all, but they're just giving notice. Hey folks, here's how we're going to do it. There's two worlds. There's the world of reality in Kansas, and then we're not in Kansas anymore, Toto. There's the fictional world. And that's another, that'll take hours and hours to go through. We'll let John take care of those questions for me. But verse 16. They shall look narrowly upon him and say, is this the man that did weakens them, that did this? But he's going to be cut down to the ground. Next verse says, this is Lucifer speaking now. For thou hast said in thine heart, ready? I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit upon the mount of the, also upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. Every step he's putting himself a little higher. There's a whole sermon here on the 5 different steps. I will ascend into heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars. I will sit upon the mount of the congregation in the sides of the north. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. And then I will be like the Most High. The 5 I wills of Lucifer. And again, there's whole sermons been preached on this topic. Okay. There, we'll get it to stay up there, yeah. The 5 I wills of Satan. The last one, though, he said, I will be like the Most High. He's wanting to be like God, isn't he? Now, of course, he can't be like God, so he's mad at God. And at this point, I try to throw a little more humor into my seminar. You know, he wants to be like God. He wants to be God, actually, but the job is not available. So he's mad at God. But he can't do anything to God, so he's mad at us because we're made in God's image. The reason Satan hates you and hates me is because we remind him of God. A good illustration here is a coin. I don't have any coins. Man. That woman's expensive. Oh. But if you look at a coin, they stamp an image on there, don't they? After you carry it around in your pocket for a few years, the image gets worn, doesn't it? We were made in the image of God. We still retain some of that image, but we're pretty worn out, folks, okay? We're not too close anymore. Oh, a big one, son. Thank you so much. A quarter. The image gradually gets worn and faded. And even in the drunks and the derelicts and the drug addicts and the prostitutes, there's still an image of God there, folks. It's pretty worn and faded, but it's still recognizable. Made in the image of God. And God can restore it. That's the miracle of the new birth. I was going to apply that to your bill, son, but I'll let you have it back. So, God created man in his own image. We're made in the image of God. Lucifer wanted to be God and couldn't have the job. He was apparently kicked out of heaven sometime in the first 100 years after the creation. And so he decided he's going to devote his life to trying to destroy humanity. There's probably a lot of reasons behind this. It could be because he just wants to rebel against God, wants revenge. It could be because he knows that some seed of the woman is going to bruise his head someday. So he wants to kill all the humans. There's probably a lot of reasons behind why Satan decided to rebel, but he's been in rebellion for the last 6,000 years against God. In my seminar, I use hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of quotes and references. I try to footnote everything. This is one I currently don't have a footnote for, and there's always some atheist will say, where did Hitler say that at? And I don't know. But the quote has been attributed to Hitler for a long time, and if somebody finds the actual reference where Hitler made speeches prolifically, I mean, just to read all of his speeches would take you the rest of your life. But it is attributed to Hitler that he said, if you tell a lie long enough and loud enough and often enough, the people will believe it. I can't prove that he said that, okay? But the concept is right. You tell somebody something over and over and over again, they're going to believe it. If a kid grows up in a head-hunting society, and from the time he's 2 years old, he's taught, now Johnny, if you go to battle and you kill your enemy, that proves you are superior to him, or else he'd have killed you. But the way you can get his spirit is to cut his head off, break it open, and eat his brains. Well, of course, that's stupid, but suppose you're taught that all of your life. What are you going to do when you go to battle and kill somebody? You're going to cut his head off, break it open, and eat his brains, aren't you? What you believe determines how you're going to behave. And if you tell a lie long enough and loud enough and often enough, the people will believe it. That's just a simple fact. Hitler's also attributed as saying, people are more likely to believe a big lie than a small one. And again, I'm going off on a lot of rabbit trails here. Folks who have made gigantic claims. One guy during the Civil War got tired of being a soldier, so he walked into the camp where they're doing surgery on the guys with their legs shot off and stuff. and just got one of the doctor's coats, put it on, and pretended to be a doctor for the rest of the war. He performed hundreds and hundreds of surgeries. Never had a day's medical training in his life. He bluffed them all. I guess apparently he got to be a pretty good doctor after a while. You practice on enough of them, you know, you learn a few things. But then I go into a little more